we want to work with corporates. Let's do this. What do I have to do? What are the steps to actually get considered?
The first step would be make yourself visible. What's also very important right now, what corporates are really looking for, is that you, as your company, are very much looking after ESG, some kind of sustainability.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the show. And today we have as our guest Andrea Fimian. And Andrea is the founder of Fips Consulting. And Fips Consulting is a supply chain consulting firm that is specialized in supplier diversity and inclusion and ESG supply chain solutions. Welcome, Andrea, to the show.
Hi, Stefan. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And in this episode, we are going to talk about specifically the supplier diversity part of things. But just give an introduction, like, who is Andrea? What is Fips Consulting? How do you get all started with this?
Thank you, Stefan. Well, you already mentioned, so Fips Consulting, it actually stands for Fimian Passionate Supply Chain Consulting. So that's the abbreviation. And it's a supply chain consulting company, as the name says, but really specialized in supplier diversity and inclusion and ESG supply chain solutions. How it all started? Well, my background is in corporate. So I was at IBM for several years and also in supply chain there for many, many years. And also I was leading and managing the supplier diversity and inclusion efforts for EMEA and the global second tier program at IBM. And I realized that this is a topic that's not very well known in our parts of the world, so outside of the US. And I really like the idea of diversity and inclusion in the supply chain. And I saw how much impact can be achieved from companies if they include their supply chain in their D&I efforts. And I just grabbed the chance and thought, let's just start my own business and helping more corporates than just one to build and enhance their D&I efforts in their supply chains.
Yeah, a lot of this might seem very new to a lot of people, right? Within technology, we're helping LGBTQ plus business owners to build better businesses. Supplier diversity is not really a part of that right now, right? We are building the Queer Business Accelerator, which will have a big focus on supplier diversity. But for people that don't understand really what is the benefit for being a good, diverse supplier, or just what is supplier diversity for us as business owners, what does it mean?
Okay, so for business owners, it's actually, well, let me put it the other way around. For corporates, it's making sure that you expand the efforts you have internally to bring in diverse teams and provide equality and equity for all. It's the same in the supply chain, where you make sure that you open the doors for all kinds of suppliers led by women, by LGBTIQ plus individuals, by people from ethnic minority backgrounds, people with disabilities. So it's all looking at the same underrepresented groups that it does in the workforce, but it's making sure that these businesses are having a seat at the table. It's not about giving away business just because a supplier might be diverse owned. And from the supplier side, it's really about the management and the control and who is the company owned by, who is it run by, who has the say in the company. And there it's focusing on the underrepresented group. So it's really about bringing in businesses that are led and managed by underrepresented groups and giving them a seat at the table. So if a corporate has an opportunity to buy something, service, products, whatever, that they also make sure that they include diverse businesses, diverse owned businesses, which are usually then also small and smaller, medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I really want to go deeper into, because for many LGBTQ plus owned businesses, smaller businesses, what I hear is that a lot of them, they don't understand this concept of supply diversity, but they don't also necessarily want to, or almost are fearful to be involved with corporate, because they think that they are not big enough to become a supplier for a corporate business. What would you say to somebody that thinks like that? Like, what is the actual opportunity for small businesses?
Right. So obviously, it's not for all businesses, right? So you need to understand, if you have your own business, you need to understand, what are you selling? Who is your client? Who is your potential client? And that if that's a B2C or a B2C company that usually sells to customers directly and not to other businesses, then you might not work with the corporate, because that's not your focus on your sales stream. So, and there it's really important then to find the corporate that will be interested in what you sell. And then it's, then being part of an organization like EGLCC, which is your European Gay and Lesbian Business Chamber. So it's the overall, the European mother organization, kind of. It's about connecting to these organizations, because then you're visible to these corporates. And from a business point of view, you should see it as an additional business network where you can have a new sales stream. So that's also for me. I come from corporate, so I was on the other side. I know the huge challenges that diverse and small businesses face when they want to work with big companies. And I'm on the other side now. So I got certified with We Connect International. I'm a certified women-owned business. And I see the investment there as an additional business network, which can really connect me to all these global corporates and potentially create business out of it.
Yeah, and I think that is a very important point that you mentioned there, Andrea. It's having the opportunity to connect in an easier way almost with extra business opportunities. Whereas especially B2B service providers might be struggling, especially in the beginning, might be struggling to find new customers and so on. But if there would be an easier way to connect to corporate businesses through this, then, I mean, I'm not saying that you will get it, but there are higher chances that you will actually be considered to become a supplier for corporate.
Correct.
Now, if you look at the spend in this whole supplier diversity area, I've seen some numbers going around, Andrea, and I think it's important to mention this kind of a spend that corporates are actually investing into diverse suppliers. Can you tell us how that looks like? And I'm going to warn everybody, you would be very surprised at how much corporates are willing to spend on this.
Well, it's not sure what number you're looking for, but there is obviously corporates that have targets on diverse spend, meaning how much they spend with diverse owned businesses in the US, in Europe, in Africa. In the US, for example, you have to have a certain amount of spend or a certain percentage with diverse businesses if you work with the government. So that's very much given there, that big corporates who are engaged with the government do actually have to have some kind of diverse spend. We don't see that in Europe yet. Hopefully, maybe very soon. But there is numbers like spend, like percentage of overall spend. It's obviously not as high as I would love it to be in Europe on average. But there is room for improvement. And it's not just a thing about the corporates trying to increase the spend. It's also a challenge to find the diverse businesses that are out there, and meaning that they also need to like sign up to the EGLCCs or the WeConnects or the MSDUKs out there to make sure that they can be found by companies who are trying to include diverse suppliers into their opportunities.
So you're working with these corporate businesses, Andrea. What kind of commitment do they have towards spend? Do you have some numbers? I can say some numbers that I have found for the US side of things.
Well, there are some corporates who have public statements which state that they want to spend so and so much with diverse businesses by 2025, or engage with so many women-owned businesses by then and have so and so much spend. So I think Unilever has a public statement on that, and more companies do that. But it's usually not broken down into different regions. So it's usually a global number that they publish. Also, there is the $1 billion roundtable in the US, which you can participate as corporate if you spend more than $1 billion with diverse businesses in the US. And that's all certified. So meaning they all come from a certification agency. They can be identified as diverse owned based on the definitions they have in the US. And so we don't have anything like that. And I'm not sure if the dollar number is a good solution, because some companies have a lot of diverse spend, but they might not spend $1 billion in their supply chain, so they can never achieve being part of it, even though they might spend 50% of their overall spend with diverse businesses. So that's another story, but there are some public commitments from corporates. For example, Meta has a great supplier diversity page where you can see how much spend they have with women-owned businesses compared to ethnic minority-owned businesses, LGBTQ-owned businesses, and so on. So,
Well, it's nice to see, of course, these kind of efforts from corporate to get this spend out there to diverse businesses. Now, if you go back to the small businesses, the LGBTQ plus owned businesses, and we see this opportunity and we want to tap into that. And we say, okay, yes, we want to work with corporates. Let's do this. Now what? What do I have to do? What are the steps to actually get considered? Like, do I have to comply to something? Is there a checklist? Is there? I wouldn't even know where to begin. What are the steps, Andrea?
So I think the first step would be make yourself visible. So you can add, for example, for women, you can add in your Google business profile, you can say you're a women-owned business. You can say you're LGBTIQ friendly. That also helps to make yourself somehow visible on your how your business is set up. But for LGBTIQ owned business or business owner, I would highly recommend to connect with your organization and EGLCC. And they have the network of corporates, and they can then connect you to the right corporates or to the corporates who might be interested in buying your products or service, or where you think you can be a great value add to sell your product or service. But at the end of the day, it's not, you won't get any business just because you're diverse owned. You won't get a free contract. So
no. You still have to be a decent business.
Correct, right. So it's all about really providing opportunities, providing a seat at the table. But once you are providing your pitch and offering your product or service, you're on the same level as any of your other competitors.
So let's say that we have this kind of opportunity where we want to tap into that. We see like a tender from a corporate business, for example, or request for proposal and so on. To be considered, right, by corporate business as a diverse supplier. Okay, we are LGBTQ plus owned, we are connected to the EGLCC. What else is there that we need to comply with? And probably this is different for a lot of corporates, right? But in general, are there some kind of general rules of compliance that we need to take into account?
Again, it totally depends what you provide, right? If you provide any technology, I would always check what kind of additional or what kind of ISO, for example, ISO or other certifications and approvals that you need to be able to sell your product and service. What's also very important right now, what corporates are really looking for, is that you, as your company, are very much looking after ESG yourself, right? You have some kind of sustainability plan for your company. If it's not just a one woman or one man show.
Yeah.
So that's all important as well. And you have also your maybe D&I internally that you promote and live. So that's all important. But I would just do your homework, see what kind of certificates and other things are needed to actually sell what you're selling, right? Yeah. So that's given to in any business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, we have connection with EGLCC, we have the request for proposal, we have the compliance that we need to get into business with these corporates. Then what? What is the next step? Is there some kind of selection procedure? Is there like some kind of interviews? Is it almost like a job interview? Like, how does that work?
So once you are, let's say I don't know, let's just make something up, right? You provide some marketing and agency services. I'm no expert in that, so I'm just making something up. And you sign up with EGLCC. There might be others that do the same thing that you do, right? And then a corporate has an opportunity in this area. They look at the EGLCC database. They already have their 3 or 4 suppliers they want to look at. They want to get a proposal from. You being selected to also provide a proposal, hopefully. And then you provide that, and you might get to the next round. You might be able to have a pitch. If not, it's like for any other opportunity or business, if you don't win, then okay, next, right? And if you win, then it's a great success story that you can talk about. And again, it's about getting a seat at the table. And a lot of corporates are making sure that if they have an opportunity, they want to include diverse-owned businesses on top of their other suppliers that they invite, just because of reasons that they also see when they have diverse teams. They have more innovation, they have different thinking. And that's one of the reasons as well why corporates are looking at that, because it's not always working with the same suppliers, it's more competition as well, besides all the social aspects.
Yeah. And something that I say a lot to business owners that are going through technology, we should understand that we are more powerful than we think as business owners. Because we are part of the LGBTQ plus community, because we are diverse suppliers, we do things differently. So just that fact alone sets us apart from our competition. So that makes me really feel like supply diversity is a big opportunity. Because if you see that corporates are investing into this and they also see the benefits of having diverse suppliers or diverse teams and so on, it means that you got a leg up. Again, of course, you have to be a decent business. You have to provide the proof and all of that you can actually deliver. But if you do, you have to really understand that this is a huge opportunity for your business to outcompete others for this kind of proposals, for this kind of opportunities. So I would encourage anybody within our community that has some B2B services that is open to work with corporates in this kind of way to start looking into this. Right. That's why definitely we are
Totally.
building the Queer Business Accelerator to help businesses get to a point that they are super confident in the way that they do business, in what they deliver, and that they feel like they're ready, really ready to step into this. Right. I really encourage
Right.
everybody to do that.
Yeah, it's a huge accelerator to get into the conversation with corporates, and I think it's very important though to understand where you fit within a corporate, because many companies are also that are new to this are thinking that, well, I'm certified now, I'm flagged as whatever, diverse business, and that doesn't give you anything
No.
at the very beginning. It's still work. It's still, see it as a business network. It opens door. You can connect it to global corporates all around the world, and where you don't see if you fit as I might not sell to the corporate directly, but maybe they have a supplier which would buy my product, right? So you
Yes.
can use them as being introduced to their supplier, which might be interested in buying your service. So that's also a great vehicle to use as being introduced to a corporate supplier who might be a better fit than the corporate directly.
And that's the topic around first tier diverse suppliers and
Correct.
second tier diverse suppliers.
Yes.
So the first tier are the ones that are doing business directly with the corporates, but then second tier are the ones that are doing business with the suppliers from the corporates, right?
Right. The suppliers, right.
Suppliers. And again, a huge opportunity. So even if you don't want to work with corporates, you can work with the suppliers of the corporates.
Totally, because there are many corporates who have tier 2 programs, which means their suppliers need to make sure that they include diverse businesses in their supply chain as well. So it's not just looking at the first tier suppliers of a corporate, but really going down the supply chain. And if this is broken down into the whole supply chain, you have it all the way down, right? So it's an end-to-end effort that can be done if you give it down to your suppliers as well.
Yeah. I mean, sounds like more and more opportunities are coming to us. And the question that I have, Andrea, is
Hopefully.
yeah, I'm 100% sure. Like, because it ties into my next question is why is this in Europe such a new thing? Because in the US, it's like common for many years already. But why Europe? And Europe is probably always behind the US in some way, but still, I mean, the way that Europe is working as an entity and so on, we are very much supporters of diversity and so on. Yet, supply diversity is something completely new in Europe. How come?
Yeah. I think there are several reasons. One of them is also historically connected. The US started supplier diversity and inclusion in the 60s. So it was something that was starting with during Martin Luther King, and where corporates thought, well, we don't just want to include Black individuals in our workforce, but also support or buy from the Black community and support whole families, whole communities with that. That was then expanded to women, to LGBTIQ individuals, to people with disabilities. And it only I would say about 10, 20, maybe 15 to 20 years ago, it started that corporates move their efforts also into Europe or other countries. We see something similar in South Africa after apartheid with the Triple BEE, the Black Empowerment Program. There is also one sector looking at preferential procurement, which looks at including Black-owned businesses in the supply chain. So we have something similar outside of the US, in South Africa, but also in Canada or Australia. But we haven't had, I think it's also connected to the legislation and working with government in the US, that it's still there and it's so needed in corporate. And then the companies realize it's not just something that we have to do, but we also see a huge value add, and it helps growing revenue and all that. And that's why they were also expanding into other countries, kind of starting with the UK, and we see it coming closer and closer. We just came back from Amsterdam, where we had the first European Supplier Diversity Conference in September. So it's growing, but I think in Europe it's also connected, and many companies are putting a lot of efforts also into sustainability and other ESG topics. But I think, it's not a either or, it's all supporting the whole ESG targets here.
And ESG, to be clear, stands for
environmental, social, and governance, which is in everybody's mouth. Everybody's talking about sustainability and ESG, and also the supply chain reporting requirements that we have in Europe goes into this. And again, supplier diversity is supporting all of the three ESG pillars. So ESG is also the UN SDGs, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. It's going into the same pot. But so the supplier diversity and inclusion is not just supporting the social pillar, which is diversity and supporting equality and all that. But also, if you think about diverse owned businesses, they're usually, as we said, smaller, medium-sized businesses. They're usually more local, regional, and not the global suppliers, which means there is less CO2 when you buy something, and so on and so on. So there is lots of other factors that play into different pillars also in governance or environmental topics.
So it's a big, big thing. Supplier diversity, there's a lot of things to uncover, a lot of topics to uncover, but it's safe to say that anybody that is listening to this or watching this and they have never heard about this, it's time to learn more about it. It's time to see the opportunities. And if you're a real entrepreneur, as we are, you see the opportunities. You see there is something there. And again, even if you don't want to work directly with corporates, you can work for the supplier, people that are working for corporates. So yeah, it's time to look at it and not be afraid of these big companies that you would think like, I can never work with them. I'm too small for this. We shouldn't think like that anymore. If we're good at what we do, if we have the right services, then we should be fearless. We should be confident about getting ourselves out there, getting the visibility that we need to be able to get a seat at a table.
Totally. And, even though these might be huge corporations and big companies with lots and lots of employees, at the end of the day, it's still about people. It's still about people buying from people. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need to network, right? You need to go out and have talk to many people. And that's just part of your marketing and sales strategy. So this is just an additional network, which is huge. It's great. It's global. You can get connected to anyone all across the world, and yeah. So it's not about, don't see this huge global corporate with, I don't know, 200,000 employees. Just see the the person you can get connected with, and then they can help you get connected maybe with, I don't know, a salesperson or a procurement person in India or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So it's use the opportunity. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's where probably a lot of people get stuck. Like, oh my God, we can never do any work with Amazon, for example, because how are we ever going to talk to the CEO? But you don't need to talk to the CEO to do business with Amazon, right? To give an example, when I went to the conference in Amsterdam, the Supplier Diversity Conference, I met a wonderful lady from Amazon who was a procurement lead for Amazon in the region, in the European region. And we started to a conversation, and then afterwards we sent out emails to each other. And now I have this contact within Amazon to see what do they need, what kind of suppliers do they need, and then I can see in my network if I know somebody that could actually deliver this. So I didn't have to talk to Jeff Bezos about this. I didn't have to go to him to be able to do business with Amazon, right?
No.
It's just that kind of connection that we had, and then conversation, and that's it, just a conversation. And they're very happy. And that's honestly, Andrea, I will tell you, I was very surprised that they were even open to having a conversation with me about this. This just shows that the willingness of corporate, and maybe you should stop saying corporate, the willingness of the people within these organizations are definitely willing to work with diverse suppliers.
Yeah.
And now that I'm thinking about it, saying this out loud, we should definitely look into our marketing and saying like, okay, it's not so much about connecting with corporate, it's about connecting with the right people within these larger organizations, so you get a seat at a table and get more opportunities, so you can work for the people within this organization. I think that is less daunting, less big than saying, yeah, you have to work with corporate and you have to work with Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you say Amazon, you think Jeff. If you say this lady,
Meta.
this nice lady from Amazon, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's a misconception that many have about this, about supplier diversity, about what it is, right? Yeah, it's working with corporate. No, it's getting the opportunity. Anyway.
Right. And if I can add that, I mean, all of these people, they're so passionate about the topic. They're so passionate about finding diverse businesses they can engage with. And it's their job, right? So they're really trying to move that needle a little tiny bit to make the world a little bit more equal and getting more diverse businesses into their supply chain. So they're totally happy to meet you as well, right? It's not just a one-way street.
Exactly. Maybe one last question, Andrea, about this. If the people within corporate, within these organizations are looking for diverse suppliers, what is their process? Do they go into LinkedIn and start typing, give me an LGBTQ plus owned business that can, what do they do? How do they do it?
Well, the wishful thinking, or, the thing that we all wished for or wish for is one database for all diverse businesses. I'm working on that. I'm trying to get it done, but no, at the end of the day, it's there are some tools like, Supplier.io, Gamefront, Tealbook, and others that have databases of diverse suppliers. Not that many in Europe, so there is still very much US focus. In Europe, it's actually the case. So if you have an RFP and you don't have any of these databases, you usually go and check WeConnect database, or you work with WeConnect directly, and or put your opportunity into the tool that they have. The same with EGLCC or the other organizations. So it's still lots of manual work if you don't know all of the diverse businesses, which you will never be able to know, because there's changes daily, right? So there's new ones popping up all the time, which is great. But yeah, it's a lot of efforts that corporates put into finding diverse suppliers, which I think needs to be changed into having easier access. And I mean, Google's option with flagging your company as women-owned, for example, helps, but this is just focusing on one underrepresented group at this moment. And I think it would be great to have one database where everybody can just find diverse business, certified or not certified, right? But self-identify, which is good as well. And then you can figure out if there is certification available or not, or how you go forward then.
Yeah. Still a long way to go, still a lot of work to do to make supplier diversity really almost a mainstream thing, but we're on our way, I would say. And again, from our side, the LGBTQ plus space, entrepreneurs in our community, just know that within technology, together with EGLCC, together with you, Andrea, we're building out this queer business accelerator that will help businesses, queer-owned businesses, to become the best diverse suppliers, either for the larger organizations or for the suppliers of these organizations. So check us out. More is to come. We will spend a lot of time on this. We will share a lot of information about this. So this is all coming. It's very exciting. So we hope that everybody that is listening to this, that is watching this, go check out the website, queerbusinessaccelerator.com. That's where you will find all the information about this topic. We will share everything. You will be able to apply for a waiting list and so on and so on. And once it gets live, then it's time to jump in, because it's going to be super, super valuable. Now, Andrea, if they want to know more about you and what you do, where should they go?
Just one comment to the accelerator. I'm so much looking forward to it. So
good. Me too.
But it's just, it's great to support diverse businesses as well. I was also doing a white paper when I was a corporate on what are the challenges and the obstacles for diverse businesses to work with big companies, and also vice versa. So that was very interesting. But people can find me on LinkedIn. My name, Andrea Fimian, or phipsconsulting.com.
Showing in screen right here.
Yeah, so easy to find.
Awesome. And we will also put the white paper for small businesses in our show notes. So anybody that's interested into that can also download that for sure. Andrea, thank you so much for your time, for your value, for your knowledge. Very excited for the future. Thank you, everybody, for watching or for listening. We will see or hear each other very soon again. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.